Hello, welcome back to another video where we are doing a heart transplant on my Fiat 500 TwinAir. So this is the old engine up on the engine stand. You have to ignore the fact the engine crane's still there. I kind of hemmed myself in here and I can't really be bothered to sort it out. So as we all know now, this engine suffered from oil starvation, and in trying to find the root cause of the starvation, there's lots of people that are in the comments of the videos basically suggesting that the oil seals in this turbo had gone, which is what was pushing oil down into this pipe here, which is the intercooler pipe, and then coming out the wrong way, and that was what eventually starved the engine of oil. So a few people said, right, if you just come in here, this is the inlet side, and if you kind of like shove your finger in that in there and have a play around, you can check the condition of the turbo. There shouldn't be any play in there whatsoever. So I'm guessing that they kind of mean play kind of up and down. I mean, I don't know if you can see in there, but it's a real small little turbo. I mean, it's a really small little engine, isn't it? So I can just about get like one finger in there. And if I have a poke around like that, I can't feel any play. It's just the turbine there just going, you know, it's just very, very loose. You know, as I imagine you'd expect it to be, low friction, and it's spinning over just fine. So I mean, there's no oil in this bit here, but I don't think you'd expect there to be oil in there, would you? Because this is the intercooler pipe here, and so that compressed air is coming down this pipe. So, you know, we know there's oil in here, but yeah, if I poke my head in there, kind of nothing. I'm just about to take this whole turbo off. I've only got one more bolt on the manifold. I'm taking this off just basically just to have a look at it really, and see if it was obvious if this thing was actually kind of spewing oil anywhere. Unfortunately, because of the oil starvation, I think this turbo is just going to have to go in the bin. I have bought a new turbo. I mean, when I say new, I mean second hand, so that will get fitted to the new engine. But yeah, so that there is the turbo off. And you see, the trouble is with things like this is that I just don't really know what I'm looking at. I mean, I know I'm looking at a turbo. I'm holding it, but yeah, you know, in terms of like diagnosing a bad turbo, how would I even really go about it? All we know is that a lot of oil was coming out of this pipe here, which is the compressed air that goes into the inlet manifold. But this is actually getting quite heavy. Oh, it came around quick, that did. But yeah, I mean, you know, like, there's no stuff coming out of it. If I shake it, there's no noise. I mean, I don't think that's an official test, the shake turbo test. You know, and if I look into the manifold there, you know, that's all dry. It's not like wet, there's no like wet oil or anything in there. I don't know. I mean, it's beyond me, to be honest, at this stage. So the new turbo is still on its way. It's not made it to me yet. But what I have done is that I've bought this kind of gasket and seal kit for the turbo. So you can see that, like, this is the big clip that actually goes on to here to the hot side of the turbo and connects the turbo to the cat. There's all sorts of washers and gaskets and seals. I mean, I can see there's some crush washers in there, and I mean, they're going to be here for the coolant and the oil inlets and outlets, because they're bonded on, I imagine, because of the temperature. So all I need to do next then is take this off of the engine stand. I'm going to get the new engine, which is under the tarp there, put that on the engine stand just so I can start fitting all of these parts to it and start actually torquing stuff down. Okay, and you may have noticed that I have a near fatal nose injury going on. This is actually the result of a hugging accident. They do exist, you know, just chilling out on the sofa with the missus, and you know, I fancied a hug. I went in for a hug. Just so happened at the same time as she decided she wanted to stand up, and not quite sure how it happened, but it is a hugging accident. Although now I come to think of it, she did have venom in her eyes, and I hadn't taken the washing out of the washing machine like she'd asked me that day. Okay, so this is now the new engine on the stand. I know this looks exactly like it did a second ago, but you're gonna have to believe me. There's the old engine. This is the new engine. Well, the new engine with the old ancillaries, right? Because don't forget, I've switched a lot of this stuff out. So what I can do actually is just remove this oil filter off the new engine. Just have a look at what's going on inside there. mean, apart from the fact that I don't know how the hell you're supposed to actually remove this. What the hell? Oh, I don't know. But let's put that in there for now, I think. Pretend that never happened. Right, so I mean, there's a load of oil in there, but you know, there's nothing in there. I can't feel anything. I'm not sure if you're supposed to be able to feel anything. Looking at this, I can't see any like flakes of any metal or anything. I'll try and get this off proper. But yeah, it looks okay to me. Okay, so it is actually the next day. I know we're right at the start of the video, but psh, stuff comes up, you know. Right, so where were we? The new turbo has arrived, and it is, I mean, obviously exactly the same as the old one. I mean, at least I hope. They've got the same part numbers, but it doesn't have this pipe here, so I've had to scavenge this off of the old turbo, but I mean, it's just a pipe, so that's fine. So this gasket here, I mean, if I peel it off, it looks a little bit shot, to be honest. Down there, it's a bit deformed and there's corrosion. Come off. So hang on, that went on there with the thing pointing outwards. Okay, right, because that's fine, because in my new gasket and seal kit, I've actually got a replacement one of them. What I'm not going to do is I'm not actually going to like take this turbo apart and then replace any seals or anything that might be in there, because to be quite honest with you, I don't want to mess it up. So I keep saying lots on this project, there's like almost no information about these TwinAir engines online, you know, workshop manuals and stuff. I don't want to get into trying to rebuild what is apparently a good turbo and then just screw it up, because I don't know what I'm doing. So anything that's just accessible, nice and easy like that, that has to go on there anyway, so I can do things like that. And also this is done the same as the old turbo. These washers there, they're kind of like stuck to it, so I am going to try and remove those, because we've got some new ones in there that I'll stick on. And then what I've done on the head here, I was hoping to change out all of these studs, because again, in the kit you get new studs, but these are actually too long, so the kit doesn't fit 100%. So I think this kit, it said it was for like the Fiat 500, Alfa Mito, Lancia or something. So I imagine one of these models actually has much longer studs, so they're not too much of a problem. They're in good nick actually. I have got new nuts though to go on the studs, so that will definitely be done. And also I got in here with a bit of Scotch-Brite, and I just kind of took off a load of the surface crud and that. It's really not that bad, to be honest with you. And then so, you know, the manifold and the gasket can all go back up there nicely. Actually, I think I should probably give the gasket a little bit of a clean down. So that's the gasket for these things. It's basically an exhaust gasket and a heat shield all kind of built into one. That does go in there like that, which is quite cool. Oh, look at that, lovely. Also, while I've got you, I do apologise for the somewhat sporadic upload schedule. Just recently I've been away, and you know, my actual day job that funds all of this is still going on, even though this very much feels like a full-time job. So I just got a little bit behind, but I've got nothing planned now really for the foreseeable, so I should be able to get these uploads back out to you 3 days a week. There we go, much nicer. A lot of that is just kind of pitting, so you'll never get it out of there, but that is much nicer than it was. So I'm just coming to reinstall the coolant hose for the turbo. You can see that on the banjo bolt. That is just the cruddiest thing in all of eternity. I suppose that's probably what, from coolant going through it and then just the really high temperatures of the turbo. I don't know, but I'm gonna clean this bad boy up. Okay, I mean, that's not going to win any awards, but it doesn't need to. So that is now the turbo back on. So, you know, I've used new hardware where I can use new hardware. I put the new gasket in there, there's a new O-ring on there, there's new crush washers in here on both sides of the banjo bolt, do not fret. So I've got these vacuum lines all clipped back up again. The only thing I'm missing here is I thought I had you know, the screw clip, Jubilee type clip things, big enough to go on here, but I don't. So I'm gonna have to buy some of them, but that's not actually an issue. I'm not starting the car today, so everything is kind of all back on there nicely. So we're really kind of cracking on now. What I want to do now, just going to replace this oil filter, Bosch unit, and an O-ring in there somewhere, I suppose. In you go, lad. New O-ring. Okay, so I've now transferred the engine off of the engine stand back onto the crane, and the reason I've had to do that is because I need to fit the new clutch. Yes, you heard me say new clutch. Look, you can see it's brand new, got a clutch kit. I acquiesced after reading everybody's comments on the last video. So what I need to do here is I'm going to install the thrust bearing. We've got the new clutch plate in here, and then luckily it says flywheel side written on it because I can tell you right now I'd already forgotten how that goes. And then we've got our pressure plate, so I need to align this with my nifty little tool that some of you would have seen me do when I did it on the Mini. And really, I think it shouldn't be too difficult. I remember how to do this now. The only tricky thing, as I'm sure a lot of you know, is getting the gearbox and then just lining it up to the engine properly, just so this teensy little cute shaft lines up in there. So that's just me trying to work out how this existing thrust bearing works, just so I know what I'm doing when I put this new one on. Okay, and you get this stuff in the kit, and this is either thread locker or grease. Imagine if it was thread locker and I put it on here. Why are you not going on? Okay, go on. That old one just went on like that. Why are you being difficult? How did that go then? That went like that, didn't it? Just like you're on the side. Is that the same? What? Okay, think about this. Ah. Okay, so I've got the pressure plate and the clutch aligned. Hopefully you can see that, it's looking good. So this was a breeze really. I mean, I didn't film it because a lot of you would have seen me struggling with this and working out when I did the Mini. But, you know, I've got this little Draper clutch alignment tool. It's only a little plastic thing and a bit of metal on it. It's only a cheap little tool, and it does the job really, really well. I highly recommend it. This is now the second clutch I've done with it, and it's so easy to use, it's unbelievable. I'll put a link in the description below if you fancy picking one up. They're not expensive and they're worth their weight if you ask me. So now I'm just gonna, I suppose, bolt this up to the flywheel. All I need to do is just work out what way it goes. You there. Yeah, that does not go in that one. I think I know why. Something isn't right with this. The holes don't all line up, so I've clearly done something wrong, or I've got the wrong clutch. No, That's better. I lined up the dowel pins in the wrong holes. Noob error. Okay, I caught it though, which is a good thing. And now comes the tricky part of mating the gearbox back up with the engine. It's not like technically difficult, it's just awkward and a real pain in the arse, especially when you're having to do what I'm about to do and kind of like pick it up and just manhandle it on. Although I suppose you have to manhandle any gearbox on, but it's tricky, okay? Right. Just go on, just play nicely. I suppose I should get a bell housing bolt ready, shouldn't I? Come on, get on. Oh, down a bit. I'm trying to remember how I did this with the Mini, but I can't remember. I might have to watch my video back. Okay, right, so I've got somewhat of a sweat going. I've been trying to get this on now for about 20 minutes, just like it feels like it's in. And if it just won't go that extra little bit, I think I've worked out what's wrong with it. This is the gearbox, this is the engine. Now, this is obviously a new engine, right? Now this gearbox has this dowel pin in the gearbox, and on the old engine this just fit into the block, right? On this new engine, this block has a dowel pin, and these two are just butting up to one another. So one of those dowel guide skimminabadooba dowel things has to come out. I mean, I don't know which one should come out or even how to take that out. But I think what I'll do is I'm going to pull the gearbox back off and then take a proper look at it. Oh, I know this is going to be a pain, I just know it. Right, you can see it better here. So that is in the way. So if we go to the old engine, right here we can see this one does not have that. So the question is, which one do I remove? This one or the one on the gearbox? And another question, how? Okay, so what I can see is that you can get at it from behind. So I'm thinking if I come in with a screwdriver like that, and then maybe I can just gently tap it out, because surely it was just pressed in to begin with. And the eagle-eyed viewers of you are going to notice that there's a massive chunk taken out of it already. That was me with a pair of pliers a second ago. Turns out it's really soft metal. Oh. Just like that. Oh, yes. Let's get a bolt in. Okay, so that is now the gearbox fully connected. I've got the bell housing bolts torqued down. I've actually lost one. In there, I cannot find it, so I'm either going to have to find it later, or I'm going to have to call up Fiat and see if I can get another one. But the other's all in, that's torqued up. Got the starter motor back in. Yeah, I mean, it's good. So now what I think I'm going to do is turn this all around, and then what I'm going to do is just quite literally the reverse of the removal. I want to move it right up in here, and then I shall get the crank sensor wire, and I shall route all that in down here properly, and then with it all still on the hoist, oh, drop it, I can then refit this bracket and then fit the alternator back on there. And that's how I took it off. I like squeezed myself in there, and then I think I can just move the whole engine back and then mount it in. Okay, this is good. I've got the engine still on the hoist, and so my intention was to slide it on into the car like you see here. I wanted to come around the back, and there's a cable there that I showed you that comes around here, and it's for that crank sensor there. And you know, I thought I'll just put this bracket on and then get the rest of the engine in, put it all the way back in, mount it, and then I was going to get behind and then put the starter motor cables and all these cables and all this stuff basically back here. I was going to do that afterwards, because that's the way I took the engine out. I climbed underneath and just unplugged everything. But what I've managed to actually do with the engine in this position is, well, I mean, pretty much everything on the rear of the engine. So I actually managed to fix this bracket back in, mount the alternator properly, put the belt back on, actually connect the starter motor properly, connect the alternator. I've connected the oil filter. I actually had to steal this fitting here, this sensor plug thinger, off of the old engine, because this one had snapped off. So I imagine the scrapyard, when they took this out, they just snapped that off. But like, that is everything on the rear of the engine connected. So now I don't think I'm gonna have to climb underneath and then try and fiddle around in there, you know, bashing my knuckles, not being able to see anything, because everything's plugged in. Like, even I've got these cables plugged in and it's all routed properly. I'll be honest with you, I'm completely surprised and shocked about quite how easy this has been. I mean, I don't want to jinx it right now, but I think now we are ready to actually like just mount this engine back in properly and then just like plug the stuff in. That was a little bit of a faff to get back in, only because the engine wasn't balanced. Because of the way that I've strapped all this up and had to reconnect the gearbox, it was all wonky. So the gearbox was like right down there, and this side was really up high. So in the end I had to get my transmission jack, put it under there, jack it up so I could get it in. I did it though, I did it. I just hope to God now that everything's in the right place, and I think it is, you know. I think everything is exactly where it needs to be. So all I've really got to do now is reconnect all of this spaghetti, which shouldn't be too difficult, because remember, it's like I keep saying with these things, and it happened at the back. Once you know, like once I get that in place, there's only one place any of these plugs can go. That's why I haven't marked any. Like that goes there, that goes there, that goes down there, that goes down there. So, you know, I'm not going to connect all of this up right now. It's getting fairly late and I still need to edit this video for tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed, please do consider, especially if you've watched more than one of my videos, you could just hit subscribe. It's just here. Just takes 1 second and it really does help me out. Right, I'll see you in the next one where hopefully we get to turn this engine back on.